Circumstances navigated the path, and life happened all so fast. No, it got lonely. Sometimes you see, I know we couldn't make it. Even when I'm offbeat, I still land on my feet, and nothing can shake me, 'cause I know life took a hold of me. I never. This is where I am destined to be. I'm not ready to give up. No. I believe in the miracle of life. Life's a play for no rehearsal. Learn quickly, they'll come for your role. Games we play, can't take it personal, 'cause the devil is a liar. I'm telling you the truth. It's all in what you do. Some things you gotta do. It's fight for millions. Take a second, see the blessing in it. But much expected, much is given. When I made the living, now I'm giving back to children. Never let the power come first before your happiness. Yes, you can be the best if you go the distance. Mix a little sweat with your persistence. You know that the best things are never instant. Just shine up, let them see your brilliance. Get up, open up your eyes now. It's the moment of truth. No backing down. We're bringing it through like for the children, it's a given. You gotta give it, be a blessing.
This my personal statement. Run the game like I'm A6. Learn to develop patience, determined to be the greatest. Yeah, bobbing and weaving, they changing up like the seasons. Indigenous to the grind, so I do it for all my people. Jabbing the competition, back up against the ropes. You fighting for recognition. I'm fighting just to promote equality where we lack it. While cancer slowing our road, I'm confident we'll make it. We focus on common goals. Yeah.
Give back, give love.
Can y'all hear me? I just want to make sure y'all can hear me. Press 1 if y'all can hear me, because I'm doing some new things with the audio and stuff. So just let me know if y'all can hear me. If not, I got to make some adjustments on the audio. All right, because I'm doing this 2-camera stuff, and I'm not an expert. I'm definitely well below novice. But if y'all can hear me, press 1. Okay, good. We gonna rock and roll. I'm gonna call Bob right now. All right, cool. I appreciate y'all. Last time, y'all. It's all in what you do. Hey, some things you got to do. Hey. I appreciate y'all. We just going to jump right into it. I just got off the phone with him. He's excited too. And it's February 21st, y'all. Make sure you tell your kids, man. Shake somebody's hand in the community, man. Say 56 years ago, man. What I deem to be the greatest black man of the 20th century. You know what I mean? In terms of public figures. Man, Malcolm X was assassinated 56 years ago. So let's honor that today. You know what I mean? And we'll do that. I actually want to ask him about, because he met Elijah Muhammad too. I did an interview with him before, and I'm asking him about it now. So people gonna start piling in because it's a surprise, but we'll do it like that. Let me call. All right, appreciate y'all. And we still doing the show tonight.
Oh,
hey Bob, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh man, I appreciate you. Hey, I know your number by heart now. I dialed it without even looking at my phone, man. I want to say thanks for taking some time, man, to come into the barbershop. And let's start with last night, man. Burchelt versus Valdez.
Well, that was terrific. Terrific performance by Oscar, and I'm very proud of him. You know, we turned him pro. He's done great fights for us, but he's now developed into a real talent. And I mean, just wonderful to see him perform the way he did last night. I'm very proud of him, and you know, it just shows how these new great trainers and the ability they have to improve the performance of the fighters they work with is really wonderful. Eddie Reynoso is had become one of the great trainers of our time. Same way, Coach K, who is the trainer of Shakur Stevenson, is becoming a premier trainer, and everybody was bemoaning the fact that the old school trainers are dying out, and now we have, the new trainers, and if anything, they're the equal, if not better, than the trainers we had before.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. You said we just spoke before we went live, and you talked about Burchelt had all the advantages, but Oscar Valdez had what?
Had the smarts, the intelligence, and the fortitude to take his skills and beat a guy who had clearly all the physical advantages. And that's wonderful. And that's a testimony to the kid and how he performed, and also to the trainer who schooled him for this fight. You got to give a lot of credit to Eddie.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah. And that's wonderful. And that's something great to see. And another thing, I'm a little prejudiced, but you take the television commentary. I mean, there are great blow-by-blow or in football, play-by-play guys like Al Michaels in football, Joe Tessitore in boxing.
Yes.
But the real thing, because I've been in the bubble now since March, since actually June when we started the bubble, and I've had headsets on. And the thing that's amazing and really is spectacular is the analysts. I mean, Andre Ward and Tim Bradley have come on so great. They make watching and listening to a telecast really an experience. I mean, I know I'm a little prejudiced, but Andre and Tim have done such a remarkable job explaining boxing to people who are watching these fights.
And you know what? As much as I disagree with Timothy Bradley and Andre Ward sometimes, I would say that they are probably the best right now. I think Showtime needs to get a little bit younger, a little bit more hippier. Fox it's got to do it for TV.
Forget hippier. They got to have knowledgeable people who can communicate what's really happening. You listen to Andre and Tim, and I take a lot of pride in it, because when they first started, I took them aside and I said, don't be afraid to be technical. The people will understand. You'll be able to explain the technical aspects, just what happens in football.
Right.
You listen to Tony Roma when he's an analyst, or Troy Aikman, or the guy with Al Michaels, Collingwood. I mean, they explain things that people can understand and can see the inner workings of an event. Andre and Tim, I really give tremendously high marks to.
Yeah, I definitely would agree. And the $1 million question is, Bob, you are now in charge of the 130-pound division. We got a delay over there with Frampton and Herring and Valdez, and you got Shakur. Will we get Shakur at 130 versus Valdez?
Well, again, that's up. That's the way I conduct my business, is put it up to the fighters and their trainers, particularly when they know what they're doing. So I wouldn't tell Shakur with a fight. I may make suggestions. I wouldn't tell Oscar. They will make the right decisions. And when they decide they want to do the fight, and I know that at some point it will happen, maybe the next fight, maybe down the road, we'll see a great fight. And that's what the public wants. Because, again, thanks to the way ESPN has been doing these fights, we will understand the inner workings and strategy of these fighters.
Sure.
I mean, for me, it's thrilling. It's absolutely thrilling. The commentary now on boxing, at least the guys that I'm, because I have my headsets on in the bubble, the commentary that they are doing is bringing home to the fans the inner workings of the sport of boxing. And that, to me, is very thrilling. That'll really enhance the popularity and credibility of boxing as we go on.
So overall, it was a stellar show, man. Honestly, because Flores came through with a surprising left hook knockout, and Valdez came through with the surprising left hook knockout, man. So overall, I thought ESPN did a hell of a job last night. You get an A. You get an A on putting it together. Now we just hope that Bob Arum and Top Rank stays consistent and giving us these great fights.
Well, again, it's up to the fighters and their managers, but assuming they do what they should be doing, it's only going to benefit the sport and the fans by bringing great matches to the public.
This was the first fight yesterday where I visually saw a promoter lose money. How much money would you say you lost on this fight because of the gate? Because I think this fight does great at StubHub.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, and that's what I've said. Now that I've been vaccinated, got my 2 doses, maybe I'm bullish, but again, we can't continue to operate without spectators because the gate revenue is such an important part in this whole promotion. Doing these, and I'm very proud of what we did in the bubble, but it was costing me between $500,000 and $600,000 a show to do each show, in addition to the cost of the fighters' purses. And there was no revenue against those expenses. If this fight for Schelt and Oscar had been with fans, we would have sold out Staples Center or the MGM Grand, and that revenue from ticket sales would have exceeded our costs. I'm talking about the below line costs.
I got that.
Other than fighters' purses. And that's what we have to have. And now that with the pandemic seeming to ease and people being vaccinated, we are going to be going on the road now until Nevada allows spectators, and we'll be doing fights wherever we can do them safely with spectators.
Wow. So you're going down to Texas, you're going down to Florida? Is that
well,
the goal?
We're going to Florida, I know, in April, and maybe Oklahoma for another fight. And Texas is certainly, they've done it with limited spectators. And we're going to be moving in that direction. And I hope that in May, when we're planning to do Ramirez and Josh Taylor in a 140-pound unification match, we'll be doing it with spectators. We have to have that revenue from gates to sustain what we're trying to do.
No, I definitely saw it last night. It was probably the first bubble fight that I saw on your end, or maybe Teofimo, but it was very visible, probably because I'm from LA and I know the Latino population. I was like, Bob lost some money last night by not having it and stuff up. But you have a purse bid coming up this Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's Tuesday. I know we put our bid in. Hopefully we'll win the bid and be able to put Teofimo with this Gamboza in Madison Square Garden in June, if we're successful in the bid. And hopefully that'll happen. But again, we have to be financially responsible, and we can only bid what makes sense for everybody. When we get full operations with spectators, and if we do pay-per-view with pay-per-view revenue, with closed circuit, which nobody's been able to do. I know Al's had a number of pay-per-view fights fairly recently, but he lacks the revenue from closed circuit because restaurants have been closed.
Right.
But closed circuit revenue, it has always been a very, very big part of these pay-per-view fights, and that's been completely shut down with the pandemic. So I again, I'm an optimist. I really see us getting back to normal slowly but surely as we move into the spring and summer.
What did you mean when you said ill-advised? It'll be ill-advised for Eddie Hearn to bid on this fight.
Well, we have a contract with Teofimo for 3.5 years. So if Hearns bids on the fight, it's a one-off for him because Teofimo figures to win the fight. And let's assume Eddie spends money putting Teofimo Gamboza, which is not a major fight, on. What's he accomplishing? Because Teofimo comes right back to ESPN should Eddie win the purse bid, if Eddie bids.
Okay. Now, would you deem that as being like disrespectful to the unwritten rules of promoters? If another promoter would come in?
I don't want to get into that. I think, if Eddie, for example, had a fight with one of his fighters that he was that were in the contract, the Matchroom, and we bid, it would be the same thing. It's sort of foolish.
Got that.
Because we would win a purse bid. It's always money. We would win the purse bid and do the fight. And where would we go from there? You always got to think of how you build it. In other words, if Teofimo was a free agent and Eddie bid the fight, that would be okay because then he'd have a shot to do fights with Teofimo going on. But Teofimo is not a free agent. So why would Eddie want to bid the fight?
Got that.
Just, and it's not a major fight. Let's, be honest about it. I always said Gamboza is a real, Gamboza is a really gutty kid and will give a good performance. But again, it's a 25-1 fight. And
he ain't that bad, Bob.
Yeah, no, come on.
I know what you're saying.
Would you bet on Gamboza to beat?
No, I would bet the knockout. I would bet the fight don't go 12. That would be my bet.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah. So for the novice boxing fans, that's basically telling Hearn that you still don't have Tyson Fury and Ramirez under contract. Is that what you're implying? For a fight?
Well, they don't have him. They don't have him on the contract.
Exactly.
Because when our job is to program for ESPN, and again, we wouldn't put a purse bid in with one of Eddie's fighters,
right?
because what are we building? You know.
Gotcha.
And again, but everybody has to decide that for themselves.
Got that. Terrence Crawford, Sean Porter. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, what's interesting. I had Kenny Porter, who's a lovely man, really smart guy. I enjoyed meeting with him. He came to our office 2 weeks ago to talk about a Crawford Porter fight, and then out of nowhere, the idea of a tremendous site fee, the possibility of doing Pacquiao Crawford came up, and obviously it's more money for Terrence, and Terrence would prefer a Pacquiao fight against anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, so Sean Porter's on hold.
Yeah, we're going to see what happens.
Okay.
And we'll know this week whether Pacquiao Crawford can actually happen. If it doesn't happen, and since Spence clearly doesn't want to fight Crawford, I think Crawford and Porter would be a tremendous fight.
You said Spence, quote, clearly doesn't want to fight Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Crawford wants to fight Spence, and Spence has said loud and clear he doesn't want to fight Crawford. And, again, he has to make his own decisions. And I'm sure if Spence wanted to fight Crawford, he would tell Al, and Al and I would put it together. I mean, again, you can't force any fighter to make a fight that he really doesn't want to make.
Wouldn't 60-40 be more money for Crawford than the $40 million, $10 million split for the Manny Pacquiao fight?
No. No.
Really?
No.
You don't think Crawford will make over $10 million in Dallas?
Over what?
Oh, you don't think Crawford Spence does great numbers financially?
I think Crawford Spence would do extraordinarily good numbers, but Pacquiao Crawford has more money in it because of a site fee which distorts everything. In other words, maybe Spence and Crawford does better pay-per-view numbers than Pacquiao and Crawford. But again, that's only a small part of the whole picture.
Okay.
If somebody is willing to spend big money to get a Pacquiao Crawford fight as a site fee, that then distorts everything.
Got that.
Even though the pay-per-view numbers may not be as big, the overall revenue is much bigger on a Pacquiao fight if the site fee materializes and so forth. Because you have to understand, the pay-per-view is only part of it. To make the pay-per-view really work, you have to have closed circuit.
Yeah.
Because we've been, in the old days, we were doing anywhere between $2 and $5 million to the bottom line from closed circuit. And I don't see closed circuit revenue really kicking in until maybe the fall, because restaurants like a chain like Buffalo Wings,
I get that,
is under restrictions in various places, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the fight. It has to do with the ability of these chains to put money into the closed circuit, and of course they won't do it if they can't get customers.
So you call it Errol Spence a duck, man? You call it Errol? That's what it.
Yeah, okay, but again, I respect whatever position he wants.
Sure.
He may feel that it's better for him to fight other people, less risk, and maybe wait down the road for a Crawford fight until all the economic engines are geared up and the pandemic is in our rearview mirror.
Right. And are you going to make an attempt at Ugas for his belt to balance the? No.
Again, let's be honest about it. I mean, Sean Porter's a name that people know and so forth. Ugas, I mean, he walked into a room. If he came into the bubble last night, nobody knew who he was.
You wouldn't want that second belt, though? You wouldn't want the WBA belt?
The belts don't mean anything. This is an economic business. And indeed, you know, when we talk about unification and all of that stuff, that makes guys like you maybe feel good, hey, picking up another belt. It also means an extra burden on the fighters because they're paying increased sanction fees.
Got that.
I mean, a unified champion has to pay 4 sanction fees. That's a pretty big hit.
Right.
To have 4 belts.
Got that.
I mean, I look at last night. Last night was one organization, the WBC, the green belt, you know, that's what they fought for. And if it was a unification fight and they were fighting for 2 or 3 additional belts, all it would do was cost them money, cost the fighters money.
How about Ortiz Crawford? Is that something that's been talked about?
Well, Ortiz is a terrific young fighter, and Oscar has been, the Golden Boy people have done a great job bringing him along. Let's see what happens in the Hooker fight if Ortiz comes through. Ortiz against Crawford, particularly with his Hispanic following, would do big business. But again, how can you talk about Ortiz with Crawford or anybody else until we see how he does with a professional, experienced fighter like Hooker?
Right. What's top ranked schedule going forward with your stars? So and or opponent. So you got Teofimo in June, right? With you probably gonna him and Berlanga, right? You probably gonna put him and Berlanga in New York in June, right?
Yeah, Berlanga, and then we have another match that we're talking about with a terrific match with Pedraza, who's a big favorite in New York. Like the boys have talked about a big Pedraza fight that would be on that card.
Okay.
And I would love to open up Madison Square Garden to boxing. We've been talking with them with as robust a program as we could put together. So we'll see. I mean, and if the Teofimo is not available because we lose the purse bid, then we're talking to James Prince about Shakur being the main event. And you know, there's a lot of ways to go. There's a lot of ways to go. Our job is to get the biggest, best fights on ESPN with gates, with fans, and that's what we'll do.
Got that. And what do you have for Loma? How about Loma Haney? Have you thought about that?
Loma Haney?
Yes.
I think that's a fight that we would certainly consider. That would be a really good fight. There's a lot of good fights for Loma. One of the things that I would have liked to do was to do a rematch with Loma and Lopez. And then if Loma won that fight, a big trilogy, the third fight. So Loma has a lot of guys that he can fight. He can fight. Loma can fight Also, maybe Ryan Garcia. Or if he wants to go down to 130, maybe Valdez is a great match for Loma.
Okay.
So again, all of these are in play, and it depends on their manager and the trainers which fights get made.
And you say that Teofimo has 3.5 years left with you, correct? So
that's correct.
And does his when he unifies or goes up in weight, does that extend his contract, or is it just a finite date at 3.5 years?
It's a finite date, 3.5 years.
Okay, got that.
I mean, that's his contract.
Got that.
And if, let's say, he goes up in weight, and we do him against the winner of Taylor and Ramirez, then maybe we get an extension of the contract. I mean, that's all to be seen. But I'm talking of what is, not what can be.
Got that. So it's safe to say ESPN wants Loma versus Lopez too, right?
No, not necessarily. ESPN wants us to put on the best possible fight.
Got that.
The one thing that's great working with ESPN is they don't tell us which match to make. They rely on us to make the best possible matches.
Got that.
They would certainly be happy with a Loma Lopez rematch, but they've never mentioned to us, hey, you get that done or anything like that.
Got that. Co-host is finally here. DB, you there?
I'm here. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning to you.
I'm feeling pretty good. Man. I got a few questions for you. What about Shakur Valdez? I thought Shakur was.
I asked him that.
I think that is a monster fight. Now, I know that Shakur, who I have great respect for and really affection for, was at the fight last night and told me that that's the fight he wants to do. And Valdez said that that's the fight that he wants. So I'll talk to their management. I'll talk to their trainers. And if that's the fight that both sides want, that's the fight I'll do. And that's a big pay-per-view fight, I believe. And it would do a tremendous gate because fans will be back, I think, in June, July, that time. So that's a possibility. But I think you don't understand the role of a promoter the way I see it. I mean, I don't make these matches. I talk to the sides about whether they want to do the matches or not. And if they do, I'll certainly put it together. And nothing would thrill me more than to do a Valdez Shakur fight.
Okay. What were your biggest takeaways from last night in boxing overall?
Biggest takeaway was listening to Tim and Andre analyze the fight. And what it shows is that the bigger, stronger guy doesn't always win if the smaller guy is smarter and has a better game plan and controls himself to emphasize his strength. I mean, if they were just, these two guys just went at it like two bulls in a china shop, Burchelt would have won the fight. But Valdez showed extreme ring spots, extreme intelligence and fortitude, and that's how he won a resounding victory.
How close is Michaela Meyer to unifying with IBF champ Hamadouche?
I think that that we're working. I think Eddie has a fighter in that weight category, and we're talking to him about a big fight for Michaela sometime this spring or summer. We have her scheduled, I think, in June or July, and the best possible opponent we'll put her with. I mean, I'm a big Michaela fan, and she's another fighter that has Al Mitchell and Coach K in her corner, and she's really developed tremendous skills.
Okay. The other day, Tank said he had a big announcement. Tank Davis. He said it was going to be an announcement of him fighting another champion. You just mentioned Teofimo Lopez a second ago about the Kambosos fight. So I'm assuming that the fight is not going to be against Teofimo Lopez.
I mean, we've had no contact with Floyd Mayweather's people about Tank. So again, I don't know who he's going to fight. I know I read that he unfortunately has some legal difficulties now. So we'll see how that works out.
Okay. And I think I heard Fred ask us before I got a chance to log in. When is Teofimo's contract up?
3.5 years.
Okay. When it was around your birthday, I believe in December, you said that you didn't have any close contact with Bud, Crawford, and Bomac. Have you been talking to them regularly or more up to speed now?
Well, I think Todd DeBuff, who's the president of Top Rank, has continuing has a dialogue with them. But Bomac was at the fight last night. He was did the foreign broadcast, and he's anxiously awaiting to see what happens with Pacquiao.
What's the latest on Fury Wilder? Have you heard anything? Or
Well, we're working, and this is Fury Wilder is a multi-million-dollar deal, very huge money. So because of that, it proceeds along the lines like a big corporate merger. In other words, Matchroom a few weeks ago sent us a draft of a contract. We marked it up, sent them back a red line version. They accepted some changes, and it goes back and forth. And that's good because everybody wants to make that match. And we are slowly but surely narrowing down the issues. And once we have a meeting of the minds, we'll make an announcement. But I think that's proceeding, in a very good way. In other words, it's not there yet, but I think we're making progress.
How's the mediations going?
It's not like you just send a guy about contract. No, it's complicated. The more money that's involved, the more complicated it gets. But, everybody's in good faith and we're working through the issues.
How's mediation going with Fury and Wilder? Is that done or are we still in mediation?
No, again, mediation's over. I think Wilder didn't help himself with all these crazy things that he was saying. I mean, just crazy crap. Attacking Breland, calling Fury a cheater, just ridiculous stuff. And I think the best thing for Wilder is to fight, some live guys. Wait till Fury and Joshua fight, and then look to fight the winner. He has Charles Martin would be an excellent fight for Wilder. This kid that the Swedish kid that beat Brazil last night, is a good opponent. He gave Fury hell when they fought. So there are a lot of good fights for Wilder.
Are you in the red or black with Fury?
Red.
Are you in the red or the black with Fury?
Red.
Oh, red. The reason why I asked that, because I know Wilder had your heart in your throat, man.
What?
Wilder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wilder.
Well, yeah. There's no question about that.
Uh-huh.
No question about that. I was rooting like hell for my guy to beat Wilder, which he did.
Yeah. And Daniel Canahan, what's your relationship like with Daniel Canahan?
Well, apparently he advises some of these fighters, but again, we have very little contact with him. Our contact with MTK, a company which he advises, is generally with Bob Yalen and with Jamie Conlon. So, I mean, those are the guys that we work with at MTK.
So you've never met Daniel Canahan?
Oh yeah, I met him. Sure, you saw my picture with him, for Christ's sake.
So
we did it. We were invited. It must be 2 years ago, to Kazakhstan. My wife and I came by the government Kazakhstan. They were doing a fight that I think MDK had put together, and Canahan came to that fight, and I met him, and he was, a very, very personable kind of guy, and we took a picture together, and it was a social kind of thing. We had a great time in Kazakhstan, and then we went from there to Moscow for just to be as sightseers. But that's been my contact with Canahan.
If these allegations are true as it pertains to Daniel Canahan, what does that do for boxing?
Again, they're allegations. Has he been charged with anything? Has he been indicted by anybody? I mean, again, let's be fair about this thing. There's a lot of allegations about him, nothing to do with boxing, but they're only allegations.
Got that. Yeah. Mr. Finesse says, got a comment, man. Fury is a cheater, Bob. It's documented. Instead of doing so much pandering, why can't we just get the third fight like we're supposed to?
Because it's one word. You want me to spell it out?
Yes.
Money.
DB, go ahead, man.
Does Miguel Burchell have a rematch clause?
No.
With Valdez?
No rematch clause.
You don't believe in rematch clauses, huh?
No. Guys should fight, and if the public demands a rematch, and that's the most lucrative thing, then the rematch would happen. Was there a rematch clause with Lomachenko and Teofimo? If there were, we'd be talking about their second fight, but there was no rematch clause.
Right.
I think it's best for boxing not to do rematch clauses. Other promoters, other people disagree. It's a point of view. But I don't like rematch clauses. I think rematches occur. There was never a rematch clause when Morales and Barrera fought, and yet they fought 3 times because the public loved their fights, and there was a demand for those fights. There was no rematch clause when Ali and Fraser fought, yet they fought 3 times.
Got that.
I have a two-part question for you. There's legally, if AJ and Fury can be announced, or how can it be announced if Wilder's case hasn't been settled yet? And then second to that, if Fury and Joshua set to make $100 million each in their upcoming bout?
Well, I don't know about $100 million each, but I think they will be making a tremendous amount of money, each of them, when the fight happens. We've analyzed the Fury contract, and he has no further obligation to Wilder. And that's what our legal advice has been, that Fury is totally free to enter into a contract with Joshua.
So literally is no more going to court. It's over. It's done. Is the mediation?
Anybody can go to court. You can't stop anybody from going to court. But our analysis with the best lawyers, Dan Petrocelli of O'Melveny, who is the top, one of the top lawyers in the country, his advice has been, and I agree with that Fury has no obligation to fight Wilder.
Has there been? Can you elaborate on the conversations with you and Al Heyman as it relates to Spence and Wilder?
I've had no conversations. Oh no, that's not true. I had a conversation back about before the pandemic, and Al was very interested in making that fight. I have not had a conversation with Al about that fight since then.
I thought you spoke to Al.
If Spence wants to do that fight, I'm sure that Al would sit down with us and we would work out the details.
So when you said you spoke to Al, you was making reference to the conversation you had last year?
Before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic. When is Terrence Crawford fighting again?
Well, again, if things proceed as they look like they might, it would be sometime after Ramadan that they would do their fight.
Got that. Shaky Foster is in the chat. He said he would love to fight any one of your 130s.
Who?
Shaky Foster. Have you heard of him?
No.
He's a pretty.
I'm not playing games. I never heard of him. He could be a great fight. I don't know who he is.
Have you heard anything about PBC and Fox relationship? Ring Magazine did an article about 2 weeks ago. Have you heard anything about?
Well, I've read the Ring Magazine article. But other than that, I would, we have no contact with anybody at Fox. I know we worked. ESPN worked with Fox on the second fight with Fury and Wilder, and it was a very good relationship, very cooperative. The two companies worked seamlessly in promoting the fight, but I have no contact with anybody at Fox.
Yeah, I thought y'all did. I thought both companies did a good job yesterday. I was finally, Bob, this was the first time in a long time where I was actually excited about like watching boxing. Yeah, I was real excited about your card. I was really excited about PBC's card, and I enjoyed. I enjoyed it outside of the Adrian Broner decision. I thought I had a good night. I had a good night enjoying boxing last night, Bob.
Well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah,
that's right. The way it should be. I mean, Showtime spent a lot of money on their card, and they do a good job presenting these fights. So it's great for boxing that we had two cards, and now with everybody's ability to tape and the replay, people could watch both cards.
Right. What's your take on Canelo fighting next Saturday? Is that a bad fight?
Yeah, well, it's not a great fight, but apparently there was a mandatory, and Canelo never leaves the gym, so he's prepared to do that fight, and then look to do a much bigger fight with Saunders,
right,
on Cinco de Mayo weekend. So again, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Canelo fights anybody. People are interested.
How was he able to get so many dates and other fighters can't even get one date a year?
Because he's a draw, and so therefore, if Canelo was willing to fight 6 times a year, I assume the Zone or if another entity would be happy to do a Canelo fight. I mean, I remember when we were promoting years back, Oscar, when Oscar became champion, we did 5 big fights for him. Guys who are fan friendly and have big followings and are willing to work with a promoter, on upsides and so forth. They can fight as frequently as they want to fight.
Got that. DB? DB?
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. I was on mute. Hey, Bob, my brother A1 says, will Fury AJ be pay-per-view in the USA?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. It would because of it would be designed for late prime time in the UK, where because they're 2 Brits, it would do tremendous pay-per-view business in the UK, over 2 million pay-per-views probably. It would be an early evening, late afternoon Saturday when the fight would be on in the United States, but it would still do pretty good numbers in the United States. But the U.S. for that fight would definitely be a secondary market.
Where does Haney fit on your totem pole?
Well,
in terms of fight,
I'd like to see Devin fight a recognized lightweight, like Linares or somebody like that. And then, in the same way Ryan Garcia was tested with a Campbell, I'd like Haney to get tested. And then if he comes through and the numbers align, Haney would be great either against Ryan Garcia for Golden Boy or Haney Teofimo. Haney, and this doesn't demean him, Haney is really untested now. So let's put him in. They should put him in with a real test. And if he passes the test, then he would be a very desirable partner, either for a Teofimo or a Ryan Garcia.
Do you?
Yeah, there's a couple of.
Why? Oh no! But before I ask that, have you and Eddie discussed Devin Haney versus your stable, albeit Teofimo, Loma, or anyone else at 35?
Not real. Eddie may have mentioned it to us. We talk all the time. He may have mentioned it to us, but never really pursued it because I think, Eddie, I think, realizes that Haney got to get tested first, the same way Ryan Garcia was tested.
Okay.
And then he would realistically enter the picture.
Got that. We got another question. Why not Bud Porter in Texas or wherever they allow crowds? And why not a $50 pay-per-view so you can get more buys?
Well, I think that's very good. But again, if the opportunity arose to fight Pacquiao, and that was being financed by a tremendous site fee, why wouldn't Bud want to do that fight before any other fight?
Sure. I have this funny feeling in me, Bob, that y'all are protecting assets. Like for example, I think on some level, Al Heyman is protecting Earl Spence on some level by giving him narratives. I think on your end, you may be protecting Bud, giving him narratives on your end so y'all don't mess up the money at the finish line, and that being Crawford and Spence.
No, we're ready to do that fight tomorrow. I mean, I say tomorrow. If the Pacquiao thing comes through, that's the fight that Crawford's going to do. If it doesn't come through, then, and Al called me, let's do the fight. We'd sit down immediately with him and try to put it together.
Okay. You got another question from the fans. What happened to the December 12th or 19th possible fight date for Wilder Fury 3 in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium that everyone was on board, quote from y'all, with, and what caused those dates not to happen?
Okay, two things happened. One, both Fox and ESPN informed both sides that they wouldn't do the fight on December 19th because of all the football conference championships on that day. December 19th, as you remember, I think there were 5 big conference championships on that day, and there was no room for a fight. So, again, our two partners in distributing the fight didn't want to go on December 19th. Secondly, and even as important, we were going to do that fight in Allegiant Stadium, and the governor said, no, there hasn't been any event, fights or concerts or whatever in Nevada up until now. And so it became clear that we could do it in Allegiant Stadium, but for an empty stadium, which made no sense. In other words, how were we going to pay the fighters? If the two distributors didn't want to do it on December 19th and there was no gate, well, I was going to put it in my backyard. I mean, it made no sense for anybody.
DB?
Well, how big is your backyard, Bob?
Well, I think at least we can put a ring in there.
How about your house? How about the home in Beverly Hills, man? I know
California was the same problem. You couldn't get spectators.
Yeah, right. Go ahead, DB.
Yeah, so 2021, you got a young prospect, Berlanga, and you got the still rising star in Shakur. So who will be the face of Top Rank 2021, 2022 in the future?
We have a lot of faces. We've always had a lot of faces when we were promoting. We were promoting at one point years ago, Oscar and Mayweather at the same time. Who was the face? There were a lot of faces. I mean, if you have a promotional company, you don't limit yourself to one face. The more faces you have, Shakur is somebody that we love and is going to be a huge star. So is Tyson Fury is a huge star. Teofimo, if he continues, will be a rise. It will be rise even above where he is now. Again, if you're a promoter, you don't rely on one star. Now, in some companies, I know Golden Boy at one point, the face of Golden Boy was Canelo Alvarez. Now he's no longer with them. So they have Ryan Garcia and Virgil Ortiz, and gradually they'll ride those horses, they hope, to superstardom.
I always wanted to ask you this. What's the special relationship with Top Rank and the WBO?
We again that we work with all of these organizations very, very closely with organizations. The WBO has been a tremendous organization, allows us to do major fights the WBC under Mauricio Suleiman, we're very close with. We talk to him all the time. The WBA, my knock on the WBA is I don't believe in having 1 million champions in every weight division. That diminishes the value of a championship in the WBA. But we have a lot of fighters who are champions in the WBA. And the IBF is a very good organization, but they kill you with these mandatories. I mean, as an example, you remember a little while ago, they had this Thai guy who was the number one, and they made Josh Taylor, who we had just signed, fight the Thai guy. And because it was a mandatory, we had to do the fight. And it cost us a lot of money. We did the fight, and it didn't last one round. So again, I think that forcing these mandatories, which they do under their rules, is not good for us and not good for boxing. And they're a very honest organization, the IBF, but they got to really change their rules.
Bob, shout out to Horn, man. Horn Jr., appreciate you. Why are you moving like as a matter of fact now? You even more as a matter of fact now. Eddie Hearn says, "Oh, he's old. He just don't care anymore." But you're like on your like freedom of speech times 10 right now. Why is that?
Well, because again, I've taken care of myself. I have great people. Todd runs a lot of the day-to-day aspects of the business, Todd DeBuff. We have a great staff with Carl Moretti and Brad Jacobs. So that frees me up to shoot my mouth off wherever I want.
Who does it? Or are you in charge? Or because some people say, "Oh, Bob is just."
I'm the CEO, yeah. But to be in charge doesn't mean you have to micromanage every detail.
Got that. So you are in a decision process, because I saw some articles where they said Bob is just talking and Todd LaBeouf is making all the decisions now.
Well, again, he makes a lot of decisions, but he makes it in consultation with me, and I rely on my people, Todd Moretti, Brad Jacobs. They're really great assets in making. I mean, that to run it. People ask, "Hey, you and Don King were competitors. How come you're still doing it?" And King is virtually inactive. And the reason is he didn't get people with him who he trusted to make decisions. It's not a one-man operation. To be successful long-term, and I think Top Rank is an example, you have to have people that you rely on and you allow them to make decisions.
Okay. What's a bad decision historically that you think that you didn't make good on? Or a deal that you just completely blew?
Well, we blew the Mayweather thing. We had a great relationship with Floyd, but again, we didn't see eye to eye on certain things, and losing Floyd Mayweather was not a very good thing for Top Rank. Listen, you can't be in business for 55 years and bat 1,000%.
Right.
Nobody in any sport has that kind of result. If you go 80%, you're doing great.
What's a decision that you've made that's been good? Like you think, wow, I'm glad I made that move.
Well, a lot of them. A lot of the fights that we did. I mean, like we had Lomachenko, who was one of the great fighters, is one of the great fighters, and we put him in with Teofimo.
Got that.
Was that a good decision? I don't know. We'll see.
Bob, I want to ask.
right.
Oh, go ahead, DB. I want to ask you something.
I just want to go back to this. Bob, I love you from a distance, and I don't want to patronize you. I heard you say the IBF forces mandatories, the WBC, that Mauricio was cool, and the WBA has several belts. But I don't think I got the answer of what was your special relationship with the WBO.
Well, we cooperate with them. We work with them. We lobby for, like every promoter does. We lobby with them to get our fighters in the ratings and so forth. And personally, the WBO, particularly Paco Valcarcel, is a lovely guy, and we have a terrific relationship with him, social and otherwise, like we have now developed with Mauricio and the WBC. A lot of this in boxing is relationships.
DB?
Yeah, I understand. Dana White did an interview at the end of 2020, and he said that their financials were in order and that the business was great. So what do you see that the UFC and Dana White's doing great that we could implement in boxing to make boxing a better sport?
Well, again, I don't know if it's a better sport. If you say would make it more profitable, they have done a really good job. But look, their fighters get 20%, if that, of the revenue. Our boxers, whether it's ourselves or Heyman or Eddie, get 80% and more. It's different because they have a near monopoly. There's a big lawsuit that the fighters have brought against the UFC, multi-billion-dollar lawsuit that's in the courts now. They run their business in a way that makes great profits for them, I think, at the expense of the fighters. In boxing, it's totally different. Boxers get the lion's share by far of the revenue. So it's not going to be as profitable as UFC is, where the fighters get a small percentage of the revenue. It's different. Now, what's right or what's wrong? Probably it's right for UFC to do it the way they're doing it. But in boxing, because of the Muhammad Ali Act and other situations, it's not the same. It's different. Listen, if I could pay my fighters 20% of the revenue, I would be a billionaire. And so would any other promoter who has a big platform.
So what do you make of when he says you're robbing the fighters, and there's some conversations in boxing that says, look,
Bob Dana White, Dana White has learned at the foot of his mentor, Donald Trump. They use things like that, robbing the fighter. Totally untrue. He's robbing the fighter. So now, to distract, he says that promoters are robbing the fighters. It's a Donald Trump trick. I mean, the rhetoric is a Donald Trump type of rhetoric. You know, and I know that we're promoters, whether it's ourselves or Al or Eddie, are paying fighters a much greater percentage of the revenue than the UFC. So to justify the UFC paying 20% of its revenue to the fighters, what does he say? Well, we're entitled to 80%. Of course he won't say that. So he uses the Donald Trump rhetoric. Hey, the boxing promoters are robbing the fighters. Not true.
So he's a crook.
No, it's not a question of a crook.
It's morality.
Is he doing anything illegal? I'll let the courts decide. I don't know if he's doing anything illegal. Crook is a really I mean, a term that should be used, judiciously.
Got that.
I don't know if he's a crook, but his way, his economic.
He's not doing right by the
platform,
fighters. He's not doing right by the
I
fighters.
don't know. That's for fighters to decide. Maybe fighters, UFC fighters are happy getting 20% and less of the revenue. Maybe that's okay with them, right? But again, that's not the way promoters treat fighters. That's not the way they've ever treated fighters. It's different.
What's standard in a boxing contract for Top Rank or Golden Boy? What's standard coming out of fighters?
What?
Like,
I don't. Again, looking at the results with Golden Boy, with Eddie, with Al, with ourselves, every promoter will tell you in boxing that 80% or a little bit more of the revenue goes to the fighters. Now, I don't know what's standard, what's not standard, but fighters are compensated much, much greater in boxing than MMA guys. And, sometimes with Al, and that was a criticism that promoters have, fighters were getting 110, 120% of the revenue. But that was Al's model at one particular point. But it's not sustainable. So again, there is no standard. But if you looked at Golden Boy's books, you looked at Eddie's books, you looked at all promoters' books, all major promoters, you will see that the lion's share by far of the revenue goes to the fighters. And look at the purses that are paid in UFC. Just look at them. And talk to the managers and the fighters in UFC. And talk to them candidly, and they'll tell you what the situation is. Does that make Dana White a crook? No. That's his business model.
Do you think that? Oh, go ahead, DB.
Before we get you out of here, I don't know how much more time we got with Bob.
How much time you got, Bob? You got 5-10 minutes left?
Another 5-10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead. For mine will be last.
Okay. What would you, if you had PBC stable, what would you have done differently? Or
well, I don't want to get into that. That's not fair.
Okay.
I mean, Al's done a good job. Would we have done things differently? Of course. If he had our situation, would he do things differently from the way we're doing it? Sure. With Eddie? Sure. With Golden Boy? Sure. Everybody has their own way. And I'm not going to criticize what he's doing. I'm not going to criticize what Golden Boy or Matchroom is doing. We all do it in our own way.
Got that. DB, go ahead. I want to ask some historical questions at the end. But go ahead, DB.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. I was saying, since it's Black History Month right now, I want you to tell us what Black History Month means to you. And secondary to that, I would like for you to tell us some of your favorite black fighters without including Ali or Sugar Ray Leonard.
Let me tell you what Black History Month means to me. When I was a young man and I left the U.S. Attorney's Office, I met the great football player, Jim Brown, who introduced me to Ali. And Jim also introduced me to Martin Luther King and Jesse Jackson. And I played a role in Jim's black economic movement. And so I've been part of it since that time, since the 60s. So I believe that things have gone slowly. They could go faster. And it's never been any question which side I'm on. And as far as which black fighters I've had, so many, in addition to Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. marvelous Marvin Hagler, who I picked up mid-promotion, and I did every one of his title fights, and we had a marvelous relationship. Tommy Hearns is a tremendous fighter. I have never, ever looked at fighters by what their race was or anything. And I think that's pretty well true with all promoters.
Sure.
I mean, the idea, that some say black fighters can't draw. Well, that's bullshit. Black fighters have been the biggest draw in boxing ever since Joe Louis. Look at the biggest draws in boxing, whether it's Floyd Mayweather, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman. They're all African Americans. So people get these ideas. Now, obviously, if you have a African American fighter, with certain exceptions, they will be less popular in a Hispanic environment than a Hispanic fighter like Chavez, because people like to identify with somebody who looks like them. So a Hispanic fighter won't draw as well in the urban environment as a Floyd Mayweather. Just plain. But each ethnic group has its strengths in all communities. And that's how I've run my business. I couldn't care less what a fighter looks like, what ethnic group he belongs to. Really makes little difference to me. And if you talk to all the fighters that have fought under the Top Rank banner, they'll tell you the same thing.
Shout out to Case Nasty 0102. You got to follow up to that? Because I want to ask him about MLK now. I'm very interested in your meeting with MLK. How many times did you meet him?
About 3 times.
Oh man. Well,
but I really got to know him, and I got to know Jesse was like almost like a minor figure in when I met MLK. I met Jesse when Jim Brown took me to a hotel in New York to introduce me to MLK, and young Jesse Jackson was sitting in the room. I go back to Al. You talk to Al Sharpton about me.
I will at some point.
I know all of these people.
I know.
Andrew Young.
Okay. And he's. Yeah. How about? So, what was the conversation like with MLK? Or was it just passive? Was it nothing?
No, it was a lot social, but also, you couldn't meet with him without understanding his sincerity and what he was doing. He was a great, great man, and I've had the privilege of meeting all of them. I knew I had a couple of few meetings with Elijah Muhammad.
I was going to get there
because I started with Ali, and the only one I didn't ever meet was Malcolm, because he had been murdered before I got involved with boxing.
And the funny thing, today is the 56th anniversary, February 21st, 1965. That's why I want to ask you. Tell us about. We'll end on this.
I didn't know Malcolm at all. I never met him.
But people always want to know. I know I've asked you this in an interview, but half the boxing world is listening now. How did you get Top Rank with the Nation of Islam and your meeting with Elijah Muhammad to coexist the units to create it? And how and when did Top Rank separate from the Nation of Islam?
We never separated from the Nation of Islam. What happened was we had a company called Main Bout, which we formed to promote Ali. And part of the deal was Herbert Muhammad was not the manager at that time of Ali. The Louisville sponsoring group was the manager. So we started the company where Jim and I owned 50%.
Jim Brown.
Okay. Yeah. And Herbert Muhammad and John Ali, who was secretary at the time to the Nation of Islam, owned 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did fights with Ali, and then Ali couldn't fight because of the draft situation 3.5 years later. And then when he came back, Herbert said, start a new company. I'm the manager. I can't be involved. And we started Top Rank. And our first fight was December of 1970 in Madison Square Garden, where Ali fought Oscar Bonavena.
So main bout dissolved and no longer was the nation.
No, it dissolved because once Ali couldn't fight, there was no business for main bout. So it dissolved. Yeah. We did what we did. Main bout did the Chuvalo fight, the Cooper fight, the Brian London fight, the Mildenberger fight, the Cleveland Williams fight, the Ernie Terrell fight, and the Zora Foley fight. And then Ali was suspended, with that terrible thing they did to him. And so for 3.5 years, there was no main bout. And then when Ali came back, Herbert couldn't be involved because he was, at that point, the manager of Ali. So we formed a new company.
So no one that was under Herbert Muhammad owned a piece of Top Rank. You've always been the sole proprietor.
That is correct. That is
okay.
Correct.
Okay. I've always wondered. I mean, people have always asked that, like, because people say you stole Top Rank from the Nation of Islam. I've heard that.
No. It had been dissolved in effect for over 3 years, and Herbert specifically asked me to start a new company. And my partner then was a guy named Fred Hoffheinz, who was the son of the guy who owned the Astrodome. And a number of years later, Fred became mayor of Houston, and he said he couldn't be involved in a boxing promotion company and sold me back his interest.
What was the startup for Top Rank in 65? What was the startup? Or 1970. What was the startup?
Yeah, the first fight was Ali and Bonavena in Madison Square Garden, December 7th, 1970.
No, how much was the startup? I'm just curious, like $3 million, $2 million to start the company.
Yeah, like maybe $10,000, something like that.
You started Top Rank with $10,000.
I started main bout with nothing. With
Get
my
the
credit
fuck
card.
out of here, Bob.
Yeah, well, that's the truth.
Bob, you might be one of the greatest investors of all time, man.
It's not an investment; it's hard work, man.
I know
There's
everything is hard work.
In it.
I know that, but I'm just saying, you turned $10,000 into an ESPN contract, and
but again, in those days, the fighters, whether it was particularly Ali, fought on percentages.
Got that.
And there were no guarantees.
How much is Top Rank worth now?
I don't want to.
I know. Is it is it 9 figures?
9 figures. What is 9 figures?
Over 100 million.
I would hope so.
Hey, tell me something. Tell me something. Why don't fighters put in their contracts their likeness, like for perpetuity? Because you own all your fights, right? You own your catalog, right? I remember you told me a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that's how you make a great percentage of your income, right? Like leasing it to other.
No, a small percentage. Come on, small percentage. With YouTube and so forth, that's really hurt the value of the libraries, whether it's King's Library or our library.
Okay.
There's so much out there but again, that's always in the contract. We can't use the likeness of a fighter who fought for us to sell beer or anything like that. We can use the likeness of our fighter in connection with a fight that we promoted, but only for that. In other words, we can't use a clip of our fighter to sell a product. That would be, I would think, a violation of their right.
Okay, got that.
It's the same way with like professional football.
Yeah, with
they
the beer.
use clips of the Super Bowl or big games, with Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre or whatever, because they have the rights to that game.
Gotcha. Got that. Bob, do you have a biographer, by the way? I don't want to be your biographer, but I think you should get a biographer, man. What's stopping you from getting a biographer?
I'm too busy. I'm going to be 90 years old.
Bob, we need those.
I can't stop to write my book.
No, you need to put it on video, man.
Yeah, well, I haven't got time, man. My spare time, I take up talking to you guys.
and we always appreciate you, DV, man. You are you're a great ally of the barbershop for whatever that's worth, but we genuinely appreciate you. But you got to get a biographer, Bob.
Okay, guys, keep well. I enjoy the way you help promote the sport of boxing, even when you take cracks at me. Some I deserve, some I don't, but that's the nature of the beast. So keep it up.
All right, and June,
you got to get this last question.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, my brother Tank had a question. He said, "Any plans on taking advantage of the Juneteenth landing on Saturday this year and holding a fight card on June 19th in a city such as Atlanta, since it may not land on Saturday for a while?"
Well, that's one of our dates, man, June 19th. So, if Tank wants to fight on June 19th and he wants to be on ESPN, have Floyd call me.
You got Shakur, man. You got Shakur.
Shakur's fighting on the 12th in the Garden.
I know. You know that.
Yeah. Bob, I'm not going to tell you how to run the business, but if we do get something landed on June 19th, it's imperative that we don't have all the guys named Ramirez and Lopez fighting on that card. We have to put all of your black
don't be hesitant. Maybe we have Shakur and Valdez on June 19th.
Man, so you know that fight ain't happening next. Bob, I know how you do business. That fight ain't happening next.
We'll see.
Man, we appreciate you coming in the shop, man. And,
okay, good talking to you.
See you soon, Bob. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Peace. All right, so we will review this 9 p.m. tonight. Appreciate you, Bob, for coming on. And DB, man, thank you, dog. You made me a better man today, man. Shout out to Prince Judah, man. Great interview in history. Salute. Shout out. Appreciate you, man. Shout out to the Boxing Voice, man. $50. He gave us a $50 holler, man. Hey.
Right on.
2 hondos and a half.
$50 on your boy.
Hey, shout out to the Boxing Voice, man. Great work as always, Fred Champ, the Bob Father. #. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Appreciate you, man.
This is a great way to get the morning started.
Yeah,
man.
Great way to get the morning started. I'm going to Lamert Park, man. I'm go pay respect to my ancestors today. Y'all come back 9:00 Pacific Standard Time. We got the most beautiful Brianna Betty in, man. She knows her sports, man. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna review this interview, obviously, and we're gonna go.
Damian Foster get some love.
Yeah,
Oscar Moister get some love.
Yeah.
Mike Jones, Kenlon Jones. Damian Foster, Big Dose 5-1 Trey, Boxing Truth Serum, L Dog, Dre Finest, Champside, Press One, OG Rob G Film, Reed is building.
And I want to say, y'all heard the nigga, excuse me, y'all heard, I'll say the nigga tonight on the barbershop, but y'all heard him say, I gave him shit. Y'all heard him say that now. Let the record show that I've been giving Bob hell for a decade. I want y'all to know that. All right. And he still comes on and gives us an hour and 26 minutes. So anyhow, man, I appreciate you. DB, thank you at a moment's notice. I genuinely appreciate you, man. I'm glad you asked that question. That was a great question. I need him to get a buy for. I know he would let me do it, but I can't commit to that with 2 kids under 6. So I genuinely can't commit to that. If we got any biographers out there, I will gladly put you in touch with Bob. Y'all work out your own schedule, your own pay rate, because I don't think stories should die with the human being. Stories should go in books. Stories should go tell everything, purge everything. You know,
well, you'll have time, man. The kids will be in their teens, man, and Bob's gonna live. He a vampire, so
yeah,
he
yeah,
probably got another 126 years in him.
Yeah. Hopefully he do, because I mean, it's just important, man. It's just important that we get all these stories. I didn't know he met Martin Luther King, and I've interviewed Bob. I know he did meet Malcolm, and I know he met Elijah Muhammad, but yeah, man. So that's where it's at. That's where Brianna Betty's in the chat, and she'll be back tonight, man. Yeah, man. So DB will be back tonight too with Brianna Betty. How about that?
You better believe it. Beware, or as I say, beware.
Oh man, so we gonna get out of here, man. We appreciate y'all. And it's February 21st, man. We literally at the time where Malcolm was assassinated 56 years ago, man. So pay your respects, man. And yeah, crazy. I'm glad we did this together. Thank you, DB. You were the MVP again. And shout out to PPD. You know what I mean? Her footprints is all over this, handprints is all over this. And yeah, we have fun, man. So hopefully we got all the questions answered. Thank you for the super chats, man. This show is I mean, shit, nothing. I mean, yeah, nothing without y'all. You know what I mean? We'll ask all the questions. You know, we ain't got to hide that. What's last words, DB?
Oh man, for those super chats, man. These dudes actually came through big with great questions. You know, good follow-ups, man, and the support is just crazy, man. So, you know, I always got to give shout-outs first to South Central, to the rest of LA and all of California for being the biggest supporters of the shop, and everybody else, man, around the nation and also around the world, man. This is it's growing, man, every day. Fred keeps saying it, and obviously we see it, man. So, damn, this is just great, man.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just want to. Yeah, I want to get out of here, man. Feeling good, man. The Queen Unique Don, give Patty Dean her roses. Please do it, man. Jarvis Johnson, Big Tank, Tone Brown, man. All y'all, man.
Hey, by the way, I'm never, ever listening to TB ever again. The reason why I like Burchell, not because I've seen him fight, but because I listen to Tone Brown. I ain't listening to him no more. I ain't listening to this guy no more. Nah. Oh, Burchelda's the man. He big, fast. He's strong, man. He's Superman, Batman, Bionic Man, Iceman, Spider-Man, all in one. I'm like, for real? Okay, I'm a fuck with him. Man, that nigga slow as molasses, man. He's slow. He's one of the few championship fighters that fight square. I ain't never seen no championship fighter that fight square.
Yeah.
I mean, his legs are like east and west. I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like, you know, that was terrible. You know, so
we're gonna review it at 9.
All right. 9 o'clock tonight, we roasting TB. All right, we roasting TB, and Brianna Beck gonna give him some dating tips. All right. Anyways, man, I love y'all, man, and this is for all the new people that came in. Hit the subscribe button and welcome to the show. It's too many. I saw the names. You know what I mean? And but thank you. I love all y'all. Go ahead, D.
Play the song, Fred.
I got you, man. I got you. You know I want to play the song. Yeah, man. He said it better be at least 100 million. He turned 10,000 into 100 million, dog. And never threw a punch. Woo! That's the God damn.
Right?
Yeah. Damn. That's insane. Even when I'm off beat, I still land on my feet, and nothing can shake me, cause I know I took a hold of me. I never know. I appreciate y'all coming in on a Sunday. I know this was real spontaneous. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Rud Pierre, it's my song. It's not out yet. It's never gonna be out. It's the barbershop. Hey, life's a play with no rehearsal. And I finished my smoothie. Yeah. That was a lot. Hey, I'm telling you the truth. Hey, it's all in what you do. Hey, some things you gotta do. Hey. Yeah, you can cash at me $1.50. DM me on Instagram and I'll send it to you. And then you cash at me $1.50 with your email. I'll send it to you. Yes. Set the shots with your persistence.
You know that the best things are never instant. Just shine up, let us see your brilliance.
I do, Rob G. What a true. No backing down. Thank you again, DB. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was fun. For the children, it's a giving. You gotta give it. Be a blessing.
Rob G. Films.
It's my personal statement. Run the game like I'm ASIC.
Learn to develop patience, determined to
Degree
be
the greatest yet. We had a good night of boxing last night, man. Rob G. You know, that Broner decision kind of threw me back. At least make it close. 115, 113 either way. And then don't disrespect the dude. 117, 110. Come on, man. Don't do that, man. You know what I mean? Don't. You know what I mean? Don't do that. Don't do that. Nah. At least make it believable, man. We're like, okay, it was a close fight. He won. But 117, 110? Nigga won 3 rounds? I thought effective aggression was one of the rules of score boxing.
Man,
I thought you had to land punches. Oh, man. Clean and effective punching. I thought that was part of it, y'all. Because the devil is a liar. Yeah. I'm telling you the truth. Hey. It's all in what you do. Hey. Some things you got to do. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, man. Hey,
get out of here, y'all. Go be great. Go be great.
Oh, yeah. Go be great tomorrow. Yeah. Wipe your feet before you come in. Shout out to my boy, Blue Blood, Sports TV, Champ Side, the boxing voice. We had Boxiana from the fight party. I love all y'all. We had Oshaki Foster. You gonna get a fight, man. We gonna keep on working for you. And DM me so we can have you as a guest, man. Talk your shit by 1:30. All right, man. Love y'all.
Love you, brother.
All right, peace, y'all.